please have your attention, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
It's Black Monday for NFL coaches. Several of them are getting the pink slip this morning, but it's a good day here on the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors studios. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll be breaking news throughout the show as we've got several coaches who have, like we mentioned, gotten their walking papers. Jim Schwartz, the most recent one, the Detroit Lions cut ties with him. A lot of folks who are losing their job in the NFL, so it's going to start the coaching carousel back up. We still don't know anything about the University of Texas. It makes me believe that they're looking for a college guy, that they're, their eyes on a college coach who is still busy, unless we hear something today from one of them about a coach that didn't make the playoffs in the NFL or something like that.
Well, with that Texas job, Mark, it does tell you, at least it tells me, they are waiting on some big fish. Could be a big college fish. Obviously, the big-time college coaches are coaching in bowl games. We know the better bowls are coming up on us now as we get closer to January 1st, and obviously the national championship game shortly after. And then the NFL. Now that the regular season is over, you do have some heavyweights that didn't make the playoffs, including Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, who although he has said he won't be taking the Texas job or any other college job, he is a big fish who's out there. As the playoffs go on, more coaches will fall out. So I think the fact that we haven't heard much from Texas tells me that a big name is on the horizon. Obviously, Nick Saban still has to coach. Art Briles still has to coach. Mike Gundy still has to coach. So that'll be something to watch for, Mark. But I'm looking forward to today's show. So much on the docket. As you told everybody, we will be keeping you updated on the coach firings. Mike Shanahan out in Washington, Jim Schwartz out in Detroit, Greg Schiano out, Rob Chudzinski out today. No, wait, he was out yesterday. You know it's bad, Mark, when you get fired after the game. We call it Black Monday because we think of it as a quick turnaround as far as being fired. It was Black Sunday for Mr. Chudzinski in Cleveland. They just decided he wasn't the man for them. NFL playoff matchups are already set. We know who has a bye. We know who's playing who. We'll get into that as well.
Yeah, you got guys like Gary Kubiak, didn't even make it to Black Monday. They got the number one pick in the draft. We'll talk a little bit about the draft order that sorted itself out yesterday. Houston number 1, St. Louis number 2, Jacksonville number 3, Cleveland number 4, and Oakland number 5. There's a reason all 5 of those Houston hadn't been that bad for very long, but there's a reason those other 4 teams suck. It's because they're in that top 5 in a different order every year.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll get at least 1, 2, possibly up to 3 or 4 of those teams are going to have new coaches next year, so that's going to be interesting. So
yeah, I mean, and when with that top pick that Houston has, who will they take? We saw Mr. Teddy Bridgewater certainly put on a show against the Miami Hurricanes, although I've said all year, Miami, they were grossly overrated. It didn't even take me that Florida State game to know they were overrated, but still an impressive game for Teddy Bridgewater, who is the top quarterback coming into the 2014 draft. Have you bought in with Teddy Bridgewater? Maybe you think it's Johnny Manziel. Maybe you think it's somebody else. I know the Houston Texans, their brass, they're flying around the country right now looking at quarterbacks. They're looking at guys who haven't even declared themselves for the draft. So clearly that's where their eye is at. So I just wonder which one they think may be the best guy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's another topic of conversation that we will have here in just a little bit. I love the coaching search stuff. The carousel itself is a pretty cool deal. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to cover today. We've got high school basketball and stuff that's going on across the area. We talked about the tournaments and things that are going on around the state. And holiday basketball it's always a fun time, Weldon, to watch your local teams go and compete. A lot of them are going to make state tournaments or at least going to play in regionals and things like that. So they'll play against teams from across the state, and it's good for them to get chances to play against different classifications, different types of athletes and all that. We saw Russellville finished second in the Lyndall Thomas Classic there in Harrison. They lost to the host, Harrison, and then the Lady Cyclones finished 4th in that tournament as well. They were out there at the Lyndall Thomas Classic. And then the Clarksville Panthers playing in the finals tonight, 8:30 against Hot Springs Lakeside of the Hot Springs Spa City Classic. And we're joined now by Clarksville head basketball coach Tony Davis. Coach Davis, how are you doing?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
What's going on, Coach?
Doing very well. Did you have a good Christmas?
Not bad. I tell you what, Santa Claus was good to the Davis household. We had a good time. We had a good time this Christmas.
Oh, you're spoiling those boys, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
I see your pictures all the time of having lunch with those guys, and it seems like you guys have a good time. Speaking of a good time, you guys got a couple wins over the weekend. Had a close one against Maumelle, who a couple years ago was in your conference, and now they're in the 4A4 playing pretty well while you guys are up in the 5A. Got a 61-55 win over them, and then a 75-46 win over Hot Springs. 35 points for Freddie Lee. It looks like you guys have kind of figured something out after that first game there in the Spa City Classic.
Well, what we did, we played Monticello over at Maumelle, the Saturday we got up for the break, and I decided to give the guys a couple of days off. We originally had practice scheduled for that Monday, in prep for the Spa City Classic, and I decided that they needed a little time off, and I did too. So we did that. So, we took Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off and came in Thursday night and practiced, and the rust showed a little bit against Maumelle. They're a quality club. Coach does a good job, but we kind of got the script right there in the second half and played the way we were supposed to. Then against Hot Springs, we played really well. Freddie had a great night offensively, and I thought we played better team defense, did a lot of things well. I've been proud of our efforts so far, and we're not playing anywhere near as good as I think we can. So as a coach in December, I think that's what you want.
Yeah, well, and he said that Freddie played pretty well. He went 15 of 20 from the field, and they said in the second half he was just dropping bombs. So 35 points from Freddie Lee. I'd say that's pretty good, wouldn't you, Will?
That is pretty big time. That's pretty big time. Coach Davis, I'm wondering about your basketball team, just looking at it as a whole. We know last year you had Devin Sims, you have Dedrick Lee. You no longer have those guys, but you do have a lot of firepower returning. What have you had to do differently as far as working around the loss of Sims and Dedrick?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. And both of them quality basketball players. It was really weird first game stepping out without Dedrick in uniform. I had the kid for 4 years, and he's the one kid that, no matter who we played against, the tough competition, he's the guy that go get his bucket. And that's what we've been trying to figure out. We're trying to find our identity. Who's going to get stuff done, who's going to be able to go get a shot when we need it. And, we've had a little bit of growing pains, and, it's funny, we're sitting here at 6-2 and we're saying that, but we're just trying to figure things out. We feel like we have more depth than we've had, probably since my first year here. I felt like we'd go 8-9 deep that year, and we, I feel about the same way with the group. It just kind of depends on the situation and personnel, but in a lot of games we play a lot of kids, and we're just trying to figure out, who's going to be able to get things done for us every night, and we're creeping up on that now.
Well, you mentioned your record. You've lost to 7A Northside and 7A Bentonville, who are both very, very good teams, going to make the state tournament, in my opinion, this year. But I talked to you the other day about this, and I talked to you about the schedule and the way it's broken down. And, the winter weather canceled or postponed the Hurricane Classic in Jonesboro, but it worked out, I think, to your advantage because you get to go to Maumelle and you play in that Classic there, that one night matchup against Monticello, and then you get to work up to the Spa City Classic, and then you're going to get, after the Cyclone Classic, then you get to go to the Spa City Classic, and then you get to go to the Hurricane Classic. So to me, it seemed like you were getting to work up, because I know that the Hurricane Classic is a big deal. There's some good teams up there. Jonesboro, a top 10 team in the state that you matched up with last year, and it looks like on paper that you guys are on a crash course for one another again this year. It looked like the schedule is kind of setting up for you guys to take baby steps toward conference play.
Well, and that's a great observation. It's one of those deals where, it's worked out pretty well. Jonesboro's gotten better. They got beat pretty bad against North Little Rock coming off the Rumble, and I think they've had some growing pains too. But last week they went and played in the Whataburger Classic in Dallas, which is one of, if not the premier high school tournament in the nation, it's one of the top 5, and make it to the finals. And almost beat, one of the top 25 schools in the nation. So, their quality, and you're right, everything's building up to that. It preps us for our league, now we may be tired at the end of this week, after we're going to play 6 games in about 9 days against pretty good competition, but, Jonesboro's good. They're probably number 1 or 2 team in the state. Cedar Ridge in 2A is unreal. They're quality. I mean, they're playing in the tournament. And Brooklyn is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in 4A. So I mean, we won't have a night off up there, and I'm excited about it. My boys are gonna go with me. My mom's gonna feed the guys on Friday morning. And I get to see a bunch of old friends and play some good teams. And we're excited about the opportunity. I think my kids are excited about it. And like I said, it's just a great opportunity to kind of prep ourselves for the 5A West, and hopefully, if we can win enough games in the conference, maybe a run in the state tournament.
Well, I know those boys look forward to going up there and eating that home cooking. I've heard talk about that already, so I know they're looking forward to the Hurricane Classic just for that.
Oh, no question. Anytime you get something to eat, Mark, a good home cooked meal, you never have a problem with that. But Coach, you mentioned Class 5A, and I just want to take a look around not only 5A but the 5A West in particular. Alma obviously solid. Harrison obviously they'll be a team to deal with. They beat Russellville on their home floor. So when you look around, I know you're busy with your team trying to prep your guys, but what do you see in Class 5A as far as some of the better teams? Anybody that might surprise us that we're not looking at right now?
I think this year the league is going to be top to bottom tougher than it was last year. Alma's Alma. Year in and year out. Coach Flynn and those kids, they understand what they have to do to compete. They're hard-nosed, tough kids. They can play the game. Harrison's kind of the same thing. Coach Stahl is an institution. He does a great job. Kids play hard. Morrilton is going to be pretty good this year. Coach Tipton does a great job, and they've got a good group back. Greenbrier, they've got a new coach and got some new kids that are playing, and their quality. And then Bologna, you got Coach Gores that was at Boonville that made the state tournament last year with them. That's doing a good job. They actually beat Greenbrier last week in the Battle of the Briar. So it's there's I feel like 6 teams that are playing for 4 spots. There's going to be 2 pretty good teams left at home till the state tournament.
Well, you open conference play, the first, I guess it'd be the second week in January, is that right?
January 10th. We go to the Palace at Alma,
yeah.
I guess.
Oh, man, last year that was a fun atmosphere, Weldon. You missed out on that one.
I heard about it.
Oh, gosh. Well, there was some chatter that led to, I may have had a little something to do with some of the Clarksville folks. I was prodding at some folks on the way out the door, Weldon, because I wrote a little blog about it, and it's a long story. You remember how it went. Yeah. And I just, they didn't know who I was. My face wasn't to it, so I just asked some folks. I was like, "What? Why was everybody so hostile at this game?" They're like, "Oh, you didn't know? You didn't read about all that?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about." It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Well, Coach, I know that you've got a couple of teams in the conference right now, Alma and Harrison, that I've surprisingly so to me that Harrison's looking better than they did last year. You lose a guy like Alex Rose who put up 40 against you guys at Clarksville, and you guys end up beating them both times, but they look to be pretty good. And like Weldon said, you guys are in for a dogfight every time you go on the road in the 5A West, and it's not much easier at home.
No, and think about a team like Harrison. I mean, they lost a great player in Alex Rose, but a lot of times, teams that, even times last year when he would get up full, they played better together, and that, when you play 5 as 5. That makes for pretty good basketball. I mean, you can do things to get down and try to slow down one sometimes, but when you got 5, they're all working together. I mean, to me, that's what the game's about. That's I think that's what makes us so good, because we have guys that are able, even when we've had these super talented. I mean, right now we've got good talent, but when you had the D1 Dedrick Lee, we're still sharing the ball. We're still not depending on one guy getting 40 for us to win basketball games, and to me, that's what the game's all about.
All right, Coach. Before we get you out of here, we know you're a sports connoisseur. You're a man of many talents, and
that's right.
Like all the sports. But the NFL playoffs have started. You got a favorite team to win the Super Bowl?
So what? I've been a Pete Carroll fan forever. I like Seattle. I like how they play. I like Russell Wilson. I like how they play defense, and with them having home field advantage, I think it's gonna be tough for everyone else. What I think.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. Somebody's gonna have to beat them in bad weather, which they're used to anyway. So it's just gonna be most likely. And if they make the Super Bowl, and if they don't, they're gonna have to beat them in Seattle. So that's gonna be tough. And then finally, before we get you, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about the NBA. Today's LeBron James' 29th birthday. By the way, he's only a couple months older than me, so I'll be joining him in old age here pretty soon. But you got any NBA thoughts early on?
tell you what, I really like the way Indianapolis has been playing. I like their team. They're kind of a throwback to those mid-'80s teams that I used to love. The Boston, the Lakers, where they have the good forwards, solid guards, and then a big guy that can play. I like that group for some reason. Of course, I like Oklahoma City. I kind of like those two on a collision course for the finals.
Well, I like Oklahoma City too. I hate that Russell Westbrook's going to have to miss 25 games because he was playing well, and they were starting to sort of click on all cylinders. All right, Coach. So y'all play tonight against Lakeside at 8:30. Is that right?
That is correct. We'd like to have as many folks there as we can get there tonight.
All right, it's about that time where you're going to start calling for certain colors, aren't you? You start calling for a white out, black out, red out, all that stuff, huh?
It's creeping this morning.
Coach Davis, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Bye.
I really agree with Coach Davis about Russell Westbrook. Hate to see that. He's been playing sensational basketball. I've been hard on him. A lot of people have. That's going to be tough, but he's got your Miami Heat on the outside.
Yeah, well, he's not alone. There are a lot of people who do, and I like that. Because I really feel like, I was talking with Coach Garrett Hill about this the other day, they've got some secret weapons, so to speak, that are still around. You got Michael Beasley, who they're working him in. There are nights like the other night when LeBron wasn't playing, he got more minutes.
Yeah.
And I think after the All-Star break, you're going to start seeing a little bit of Greg Oden. He's been inactive for the most part, but they're going to start working him in because at the end of the day, the only reason that they got him was to guard Roy Hibbert.
Yeah.
And if they don't go out and get Slack and Andrew Bynum, they may have to have a Greg Oden guard Roy Hibbert at the end of the year. So that's just a topic for another day. But we appreciate Coach Tony Davis, Clarksville Panthers head basketball coach, visiting with us today. Like you said, Clarksville fans, get out there to Hot Springs to watch the Panthers take on Lakeside. It's going to be a home court advantage for Hot Springs Lakeside there at Summit Arena, playing in the Spa City Classic Finals. But the Panthers look to win it for the second straight year. We've got coaching carousel news, playoff picture, and plenty more on the Sports Blitz right after this break.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Once again, we appreciate Clarksville head basketball coach Tony Davis visiting with us during our Peters Family Living local sports look as his Panthers take on Lakeside tonight at 8:30 in the finals of the Spa City Classic. Speaking of classics over the holiday, the Pottsville Apaches traveled to the Alma tournament last year, the scene of the crime, as I call it, where they got hosed against Alma in the finals, and they fell in heartbreaking fashion. No controversy here as far as I can tell. Against Farmington, lost by 1 point, had a chance there, Weldon, where they were behind, seemed like the whole game, came back and took the lead, and with just a few seconds left, Farmington took the lead. Pottsville missed a shot at the buzzer and lost the game. So it was a good weekend for them. They finished, I guess, that was in the semifinals, so I guess third or fourth. I'd have to look and see how they finished up if they even played a consolation game. But they get to make another run, and Coach Thurman's sort of getting his team going, like Coach Davis said, the right direction heading into conference play.
Yeah, a tough loss for Pottsville. They did make a run, as you mentioned, Mark, to get back in it. And, it's a work in progress. We've said it many times, holiday, pre-conference tournaments, or really just anything outside of your league, not really a huge deal. You don't have to worry about an RPI or anything like that the way you do in college sports. So it's fine. Pottsville, they will be there in the end. They may not be quite as potent as they were last year, but they'll be right in the mix. Remember, last year, nobody thought they had much of a chance. You thought you were going out on a limb saying they were going to make the state tournament, which would have been a huge accomplishment for them. They go on to win the whole thing. So you never know in late December. You never know.
And speaking of you never know until Black Monday who's going to have a coaching job in the NFL. And 5 guys at least right now, let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys
I got 6,
at least are without a job. We're going to continue to monitor the Twitter wire and find out who still has a job and if anybody else loses one between now and the end of the show. But the playoffs sort of worked themselves out yesterday. You had some crazy stuff going on, and Weldon's got a point that he wants to make here in a minute that I think is really good about the way the playoffs are set up that we just don't quite agree with. But in the AFC, you've got Denver, the 1 seed, and New England, the 2 seed. Those 2 teams earn a bye. You've got the 3 seed, Cincinnati, the 4, Indianapolis, the 5, Kansas City, and the 6, San Diego. And then in the NFC, you look over there, you've got Seattle and Carolina, who will have buys, and obviously Denver and Seattle are going to have home field throughout their respective conference playoffs. And then the 3 seed out of the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, got a win over my Dallas Cowboys last night. No Tony Romo, no problem. We'll still figure out how to throw an interception on the last possession of the game.
It just happened again.
This is how it goes. Was anybody surprised by that? Because I was sitting there thinking, well, I wonder if it's going to be an interception, a fumble, or just a 4th down that they don't convert, or a missed field goal. It's going to be one of those. They're not going to win this game.
They just don't lose. Lose like a regular way, like hard-fought game. You came up short. They just mess it up to lose every time.
Well, and Stephen A. Smith, he had it right. He said they're going to win against Washington. There's no question about it. And then they're going to hurt their fans. They're going to figure out the way that hurts the fans the most, and that's how they're going to lose. And that's exactly what they did, like they always do. The 4 seed out of the NFC is going to be out of the NFC North. It's the Green Bay Packers, won in exciting fashion yesterday as well.
Yeah.
San Francisco, the 5, New Orleans, the 6. But going back to Green Bay, throwing a touchdown pass to win the game. Aaron Rodgers back from injury, finds Randall Cobb for the 2nd time of the day. He's also back from injury. The Green Bay Packers are looking dangerous. That's your Super Bowl pick.
That was my Super Bowl pick. Different road than what I had them getting here, obviously. Well, I did have them winning the division. I just had them with a better record than my AFC team. I don't think they're going to quite pull off a Super Bowl run, seeing as they have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I don't think they will be in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I had Houston, but that's a whole nother story. I think that was your Super Bowl pick from last year.
It was.
Green Bay and Houston. I think. But, this is the Green Bay game against San Francisco is interesting because I can see both of these teams making a run. Now, obviously, in the NFC, you have to go through Seattle. That's going to be a challenge for anybody. But we know Aaron Rodgers, when he gets hot with his weapons, it doesn't really matter what you pose. Even though Green Bay may not be an all-around great team defensively and whatnot, they've got a running game. They've got Aaron Rodgers and weapons. San Francisco, one of the more complete teams in football as far as defense, offense, special teams, just all around. A really good team is going to be knocked out guaranteed because I think those are 2 of the bigger threats in the NFC.
Yeah, and to my point that I made a minute ago about the things, the bone that we had to pick with the NFL, I don't really like, and I know you don't, the way they put so much of an emphasis on winning your division, which I understand winning a division is a good thing, but at the end of the day, some common sense should kind of come into play where a team who, San Francisco has won 4 more games than, I guess they're playing Green Bay, and they're going to have to go to Green Bay. That doesn't make any sense to me. The best team, as far as record, it's just like the NBA. Right. They have home field, home court. I think that the NFL should look at that.
I mean, I agree with you, Mark. Again, I understand division integrity and you want to preserve it somehow, but, I mean, it gets to a point to where, as you said, Mark, you've got a 12-win San Francisco team playing in a tough division, penalized by going on the road, playing a team that won an easier division with 4 fewer wins. There's just something wrong with that. And I think something that's also along those lines and something that's even maybe even more controversial is the whole playoff format in general in terms of who gets in because of the divisions. You have, again, the Arizona Cardinals could have gone 11-5. They finished 10-6, but even if they had beaten San Francisco, they still would not have made the playoffs. They would have had a season end with victories at Seattle and against San Francisco, an 11-5 record, and they would have missed the playoffs because New Orleans ended up winning. Yet you've got a 9-7 Philadelphia Eagle team in the playoffs. You've got an 8-7-1 Green Bay Packer team. Again, I get divisions. I get you wanted to preserve the integrity of it, but there's just something wrong with we had New England in 2008, the Castle year. They went 11-5 and missed the playoffs. It's just, I don't know. I get why they do it. I just don't love it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. We've got some interesting matchups, though, in the NFL playoff wild card weekend coming up Saturday and Sunday. I do like how they do that, Saturday and Sunday games, just to keep you kind of from 3:30, or I guess 3:35 on Saturday, all the way through Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, you'll have some football to pay attention to, and that's aside from the college bowl situation that's going to be going on tonight. We've got some bowl games we'll talk about here in a moment. But Saturday, 3:35 on NBC, you've got Kansas City at Indianapolis, and then at 7:10, you've got New Orleans at Philadelphia. So you've got a couple of games that are going to be fun to watch there on Saturday. Kansas City, man, they were in our power rankings for most of the year, and now they're the 5 seed.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, we know they rested everybody yesterday, which, by the way, that tells me a lot about San Diego. I bet Cincinnati was relieved because Pittsburgh's dangerous. I think Pittsburgh would have been a dangerous team at Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati will take care of San Diego. But, yeah, Kansas City, their offense, it's gotten better. It's just they're still not consistent. They're trying to get big plays. They're just not getting them. I think Kansas City's biggest problem right now is their pass rushers are hurt because this team's only going to go as far as their defense can take them. Their defense hasn't been quite as strong. We know the offense isn't going to carry them unless Jamal Charles goes off and knocks me out in fantasy. That's another story. But, again, I think Kansas City's in trouble. Wouldn't surprise me if Andrew Luck took care of business.
See, I think that Andrew Luck, they have to be the favorite, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Kansas City went in there and won that game. Because, Indianapolis, I don't know. They're so up and down to me. It's like one week they're beating Seattle. Early on in the season, we thought Seattle was nearly invincible, and then Indianapolis just puts a knot on their head.
San Francisco.
And then in San Francisco, right? Man, they whipped San Francisco in San Francisco.
They got some good wins. They beat Denver.
Yeah, and then they're just kind of up and down. Where the next week you just don't know really what to expect. You'd hope in the playoffs that Indianapolis will come to play, but they got guys like Darius Hayward. I can't catch a cold in a snow.
But he's so fast.
I'm not a fan. Yeah, you can fly, but you can't catch it. He outruns the ball.
That's a problem.
That's an issue.
I will take somebody.
Stickum hands from the replacements.
Oh yeah.
Can't catch to save. He can fly, but he can't catch to save his life.
I'll take somebody that runs a 4.9 that can catch over somebody that runs a 4 flat and can't catch. I mean, that's a problem as a receiver.
Looking back at Indianapolis, they lost to Miami, lost to San Diego, lost to St. Louis, Arizona, and Cincinnati. So they really only have one bad loss on the year. That loss to St. Louis, but they lost 38-8 to St. Louis. So it's just kind of weird the way their season's going. So I would favor Indianapolis, but Kansas City could come in there and get one.
No, I definitely see your point. I mean, Indy will probably be the favorite, but I understand. I've been hard on the Colts all year long. I guess this is just a game of two teams I don't love. Kansas City, I want to like them. They just always mess up. The Colts, I've always thought they were a little bit overrated. They can't run the ball the way they want to run it. Their defense, they showed up against Kansas City, but overall, I don't love their defense. Yeah, that's a game I wouldn't bet either way on it, and I would just lean Indy because it's at home.
Yeah, Other game on Saturday night, 7:10. Both of these games on NBC, by the way. New Orleans at Philadelphia. I made the point last night that Philadelphia, die Eagles, die. I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I hate the Eagles. I've made the point that they would get whipped, but I didn't realize that thinking about this, I thought New Orleans a higher seed, they'll have the home field. No, Philadelphia is the higher seed.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is going to have home field.
Division.
That changes. That changes things for me. I'm not saying that New Orleans is going to lose because I still think that offensively it could be a shootout, but I think New Orleans wins close, a lot closer than I was hoping at first. So.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I want to check the weather. I think the weather's going to tell the huge story in that one. I think bad weather is advantage Philly. Yeah, even though the Eagles want to go up tempo and they want to play fast like Chip Kelly likes to play, they still get their business done primarily by running the football. Yeah, I know Foles has put up some crazy numbers, but Chip Kelly is a run-first coach. He just likes to do it out of a spread and some different formations. I think you get New Orleans in bad weather, super cold weather, they're pretty much done. I think Philadelphia could somehow win a cold game. So I'm checking the weather in that one. If it's good weather, I think Drew Brees and company could go in there and win, even though they're not a great road team.
And then the Sunday matchups, you've got San Diego at Cincinnati and San Francisco at Green Bay. I think of all the games, that's the marquee one of the weekend. 12:05 Sunday afternoon. You've got it's a CBS game, San Diego, Cincinnati, and that one will be. I think that will be a decent game. I would favor Cincinnati, and then the nightcap. 3:40 on Fox, San Francisco, Green Bay. Like I said, I think that's going to be the most fun game of the weekend.
I think it is too, Mark. There's one game that we mentioned though, and this is Black Monday, and so when you don't make the playoffs, obviously you're being looked at in terms of your job security. There is one coach who is in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's definitely out. But I wouldn't be surprised if something came down if the Cincinnati Bengals went one and done in the playoffs, because here's a team they've had talent on their roster for a number of years. They've had good players. They've been close. They've made some playoff appearances, but they've lost, as soon as they've made the playoffs. Things are getting a little bit restless in Cincinnati. And I really think if they lose, especially if somehow Phillip Rivers just lights them up and runs them out in Cincinnati, I think Marvin Lewis may have a problem. I expect Cincinnati to win the game. I think they're the better team. But if they don't, wouldn't surprise me.
And he's probably better. He's definitely better than Rex Grossman. But Andy Dalton sort of reminds me, it's like, okay, we got good Rex or bad Rex, like they used to say in Chicago. And Andy Dalton, yesterday, 4 interceptions, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they win despite him because their defense is ridiculous. And he can, every once in a while, he can just go up and throw it as far as he can to A.J. Green. So they've got weapons. But, man, maybe Marvin Lewis's issue is the fact that he doesn't have a quarterback who can consistently from week to week show up. Right. Maybe he can, iron out those issues in a playoff win against Cincinnati or against San Diego, and that could carry him into next year. But, and I would expect them to win that game. But, like you said, Marvin Lewis, man, he's been on the hot seat every single day.
And he does just enough to save his job. Then he'll miss the playoffs a couple of years. He'll make it, lose in the first round. That gets old after a while.
Yeah, this win would go a long way for them. San Francisco, Green Bay, the bad man, as Stephen A. Smith said. I've credited him twice today because he loves him. Aaron Rodgers, he threw a touchdown pass to win the game, and then he mentioned the Dallas Cowboys, and he was dead on with that. But
you didn't credit the other guy on that show.
No, I 1.2 points a game is all he's going to get from
Water
me.
Pistol.
Water Pistol.
That's what he called
San Francisco, Green Bay, going to be a fun one there on Sunday afternoon. I would favor San Francisco, and like you've been saying for weeks, they've just got too much talent not to make some noise in the playoffs. Green Bay, though, getting a little bit more healthy makes it a little bit more interesting. I wish that Clay Matthews and the defense was as healthy as the offense is becoming so that it could be a little bit more of a fair game there for San Francisco, but they're at Lambeau.
It is at Lambeau, and I think the thing with the 49ers, Mark, is if Aaron Rodgers, I know San Francisco's defense is tough. They're going to make it hard on him. But if Aaron Rodgers can put some points on the board, yes, Kaepernick will have a somewhat easy time with that Green Bay defense. I still think the 49ers' only weakness is they struggle to get explosive plays when they need them. Crabtree is back. That certainly helped Kaepernick. But if you can get San Francisco to where they can't lean on their running game and they have to get explosive passing plays, I think Green Bay has a shot. If Green Bay can get past San Francisco, they can get on a 2010 hot run. I just feel like they can.
And
if they get by.
let's go to break real quickly. We've got plenty of stuff left to hit today. Again, we mentioned it a moment ago. LeBron James turned 29 today. Tiger Woods turned 38 today. That's a golf clap for Tiger. Happy birthday, guys. I know you guys are big fans of the show. So we hope you can just call in if you want. 968 News, 968-6397. I know LeBron's not doing anything else better right now, aside maybe having his groin rubbed down. He's got a sore groin. Okay?
I know.
Come on.
But hey,
we got to hit a break. We got plenty left on the Sports Blitz. Stay with us.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors studios. It's Black Monday, and we've got 6 head coaches without jobs anymore. 6 NFL franchises looking for a coach now. Mike Shanahan fired by the Redskins. Leslie Frazier fired by the Vikings. Rob Chudzinski by the Browns. Greg Schiano from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sorry, Jason Kilburn. I know you're just tore up about that. Gary Kubiak, that was a little while back, by the Houston Texans, and now Jim Schwartz by the Detroit Lions. Looks like the Houston Texans are going to go after O'Brien from Penn State,
Right?
And as far as we know right now, that's the only one who. I'm sure they've got names on their board, but the only ones that are actually making a move right now toward hiring a head coach. Any of these surprise you, Will?
Yeah. Well, none really surprised me. There's just some that are more interesting than others. You look at that Houston job, Mark. You're right. Bill O'Brien looks to be the lead candidate, and then we're hearing that Greg Schiano could be one of the lead guys for the Penn State job. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. But Jim Schwartz is a guy who interests me because he reminds me a lot of what I thought of Rex Ryan 2 or 3 years ago. I think Rex Ryan and Jim Schwartz are coaches who They have coaching talent. They're really good at getting guys to play for them, play hard for them, putting their thumbprint on their teams, but they're just too immature. They're still in coordinator mode, and they haven't matured into a head coach. I feel like Rex Ryan this year, understanding that offense is important, understanding an entire football team. I think Rex, from an X and O standpoint, is as good as it gets defensively. I think his players play hard for him. It doesn't surprise me that after, even though they went 8-8 and missed the playoffs for a third straight year, they invested in Rex, because I think once he's figured out some things, I think he can be good to go. Jim Schwartz is a guy who, he's a knucklehead, but he still hadn't figured it out yet. I think he needs to go be a coordinator for a couple of years, learn some things, then come back as a head coach. So I think he has coaching talent. I just think it's raw and it's unharnessed right now. I think once he goes to school on some things, he'll be a really good head coach.
And we're bringing in now on the phone lines Mr. Bradford Caldwell. Don't know what he wants to talk about, but he said something about LeBron James, so I'm sure he wants to sit in here and talk about how awesome he is. But, Brad, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
Well, I was just thinking that you guys would have like birthday candles and balloons and streamers and all these good little things, because it's LeBron's birthday. So I know how much I love him, but I do like this football talk. I don't really want to talk about LeBron. I mean, what is there really to say about LeBron? I mean, honestly, what is there to say?
He's the best. That's all. That's all. What do you want?
He's 20. He's 29. He's coming up on the hill. That's what there is to say. There's going to be a time that LeBron won't be LeBron anymore, and I can't wait for that day.
I'm sorry your boy gets his knees broken off every 5 minutes now. You talked about the NFL. I'm sure you saw these some of these firings coming, and I'm sure you're with us as far as the playoffs situation. We love seeing the Philadelphia Eagles as the number 3 seed when our Dallas Cowboys get to sit at the house.
Well, if you've seen my tweets or anything like that, you understood that I expected Dallas to lose last night, especially after Romo got hurt. I think that was pretty much a done deal. They played better than I thought they would. I thought that Philadelphia would really come in and blow them out. The disappointing thing about Dallas is just the fact that they're 8-8 3 years in a row, which makes them 24-24 over 3 years. But the bigger problem is they're 136 and 136 over the last 16 seasons. And that is an issue. There's one common denominator. That's Jerry Jones, the GM. And obviously that problem is not going to be fixed, so Dallas has turned into the new Oakland Raiders.
That's exactly right. He is Jerry Jones, for all his wonderful attributes and a great former Razorback, great Arkansan, 3 Super Bowls as an owner. He has become Al Davis, and if he breaks out the projector welding, I swear to you, bad things are going to happen in my life.
Well, Mark, you hit on it right there, though. He's won 3 Super Bowls as an owner. He's won 0 as a GM. And when Jimmy Johnson was the coach there, they had a strong presence. Anytime that Dallas has had any success under Jerry Jones as the owner, you look at the head coach, and it was a strong one. And the only other time that really Dallas had any real success under Jerry Jones was when Bill Parcells came in and was the head coach. I'll go as far as to say that Dallas would have played in the Super Bowl the year that Bill Parcells left had he not left. I think that they were right there. Of course, they were the number 1 seed in the NFC that year, and that was the year that Romo took the off week and went on vacation to Cancun with Jessica Simpson. Obviously, his head wasn't in the game. The Giants go into Dallas and beat Dallas and go on to win the Super Bowl against the undefeated New England Patriots. And, that year, Dallas actually played New England pretty well that year, the year that they were so dominant. So I think that Dallas had Wade Skippy Phillips, I should say, as if he hadn't been the head coach and Bill Parcells had been, I think Dallas would have played for the Super Bowl. I'm not sure they would have won it, but you just look back over the times that Dallas had a strong head coach. They've been successful. The times that they haven't, I mean, you can rattle off names like Dave Campo, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett. You can throw him into the mix now and say that obviously there's an issue there, and the control issue is what is killing the Cowboys, just like it did the Raiders way back in the day. And I hate to say this, but I think Cowboy fans are looking at a situation much like the Raiders were, which is the fact that you're really not going to do anything as an organization until Jerry Jones dies.
Well, I mean, that's really where it is. And that's why, when we have these conversations, we always look for a solution. When a team is struggling or something's happening, we always sit on these shows and we talk about a solution. There is no solution in Dallas. If Jerry Jones is in place and he's not going anywhere, nothing's going to change, because you're never going to have a strong figure at head coach. You're never going to have any other figure as a general manager. And when you don't have that, especially as a head coach with final authority with the players, a head coach who can't be circumvented when a player doesn't like something, he can go up to the owner, daddy, and say, head coach won't let me do that. You'll never have a successful football team. And that's just not going to change while Jerry Jones is in place. So, Cowboy fans, you just got to get used to it. I mean, from a GM standpoint, their talent level, top to bottom, to me, is depleted. Yes, they have guys at the top. They have big names. But you look at the linebacker level, you look at the safeties, you look at the defensive line, absolutely nothing there. You look at it, this is the mark of a struggling program and a franchise. I think it's the 2009 draft. There's a draft in recent memory in which they have nobody on the roster. Somewhere in the last 2 or 3 years, there's a draft that the Dallas Cowboys have had, and they have nobody on the roster from that draft. That tells you all you need to know about building your franchise.
Yeah, they've had problems for a long time. Brad, are you going to stay with us through the break? We got some Hog stuff to talk about.
Sure.
All right, we got to hit a break. We've got plenty of Arkansas Razorback talk. They won 89-48 over High Point in basketball. We've got some football news as well. I would like to even look at some recruiting if we've got time, but it sounds like Randy Shannon is high on Oregon's list for a defensive coordinator. We'll see if Arkansas is able to keep him in place or if he ends up someplace else. That was kind of one of my big worries, because he's a linebackers coach, and he's been a former head coach in a power conference. So we'll talk about the Razorbacks in Hog Talk right after the break.
Over 69 years of treatment, their main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Let's look at some Hog Talk. as the Razorbacks basketball team moved to 10-2 with an 89-48 win over High Point and the Panthers on Saturday in Bud Walton Arena. I wonder about how the team's going to travel, seeing as how it seems like every game is at Bud Walton. They play all these patsies at Bud Walton Arena, pad their schedule, pad their record and standings. And, Weldon, you said they're, 38th
38
in
in RPI, yeah.
But they got an 89-48 win to move to 10-2. Bobby Portis, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. He was the player of the game, in my opinion. Moses Kingsley, who has come along a long way, really love his game. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks. Bobby Qualls, it's a friend of mine from high school. Michael Qualls, 12 points. Clark with 11 points, and Kiko Haidar with 4 steals. So I don't know if you can take anything from this type of game, Brad and Weldon, but you've got another 40-plus point win. You've got guys who are able to contribute that, I don't want to say that the rotation is kind of set, but Mike Anderson's starting to figure out who he can play with whom, and at least when you're playing these patsies, you can figure some of that stuff out.
You can figure some of these things out, and I think a lot of it has to do with confidence. And right now, you want certain guys to gain some confidence. I'm looking at an Athlon Bell, Mark, and I said this last week. I think if Arkansas wants to go the places it wants to go, it needs Athlon Bell to shoot the way they believe he can shoot. Point guard is an issue, but it's not going to improve overnight. It's not going to improve this year. Insert whoever's name you want. It's not walking through that door. Corey Beck, any name you want. So you have to work around your issues, and part of that is being able to move the basketball, being able to hit open shots. Kai Madden shooting it well. Michael Qualls is shooting it well. They need Athlon Bell on track. He's at least confidently taking his shot. He didn't shoot it great, but at least he's taking his shot again. And I think Arkansas has a chance. And, Brad, we talked about this in the break. I think this is one of the better teams they've had in quite some time. I would say it's better than Arkansas's Pelfrey teams that went to the tournament, better than Arkansas's Stan Heath teams at point guard because of what they have up front. And even though the guard play on this team isn't great, I think it's better than some of those other teams. So I think Arkansas is right in the mix.
Brad, you there
Caldwell with us?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, first time we can say that in a long time. Number one, you've got a win outside of Bud Walton Arena against a pretty good Minnesota team, turning out to be a pretty good Minnesota team, 10-2 at least off the bat. It's something that Arkansas hasn't done in a while, is be able to win in the red jerseys away from Bud Walton Arena at any time, and they've been able to do that this year at least one time. I think these first games in the SEC are critical to Arkansas. It would be great for them to make a push. With these first few games, they've got Kentucky and Florida at home. They've got Texas A&M, and that last game, they've got a tough 4-game stretch here. It may be Alabama. I'm not sure. It's somebody that's one of the upper echelon teams in the SEC. They've got a chance here to make a move, get some recognition. They're already being projected in the tournament by Joe Lunardi, which I think is huge. I think that makes a huge difference. And when it comes down to Selection Sunday, I think that what Joe Lunardi puts out there is heavily weighed upon. And last time he put it out there, Arkansas was a number 8 seed. And right now you've got a team that has added some really good pieces. Portis and Kingsley have made a humongous difference along with Harris. The improvement of Michael Qualls has been off the charts, and Antoine Bell, I'm with Weldon. He needs to step up. In that second half of the High Point game, he got it going, and I think Mike Anderson told him to, because he just kept shooting it until he got it up there, and he finally got it going. And I think he's a guy that can be deadly from the three-point arc, and somebody that can add to the team. Point guard play is definitely a problem. Kai Madden had a pretty good stretch there, best stretch of his career at Arkansas, but he wasn't playing against anybody. He didn't play very well against High Point. High Point was a little bit more of a physical team than what we've played up until now. And so Kai Madden really didn't show up. And I really like goalie there at point guard. He just doesn't try to do anything out of his territory, I guess is the best way to put it. Outside of his game, he really just doesn't try to do much. So I like the lineup that we've started with goalie and Bell and Qualls, and then Cody Clark has really played well lately, and I would throw in Portis and bring Harris off the bench. I think that's a good lineup. Like the depth on the team. Overall, I mean, you know, Hog fans have had not a lot to cheer about lately, but I think we have something to cheer about with this basketball team, and I think in the end they're going to be right there as far as the NCAA tournament's going.
I feel like they've got at least 10 guys now, and I've not even counted Ja'Cory Williams, haven't really counted Mardrakus Wade as guys who I would count on to play. But if you count those guys, you've got at least 12 guys who can contribute every night. Now, Kai Madden, to me, has been very, very good until Saturday. He had 4 turnovers, just didn't play very well. But I've liked what I've seen from him. I'm with Brad as far as Fred Gully being a steadying force, although when he's out there, it just seems to me like he's just out there for, because Mike Anderson wants somebody to be the steadying guy. Jason Kilburn tweets in and he says Arkansas wanted a neutral site, so to speak, in Little Rock or in Maui in that tournament, but they haven't won on the road. He asked if we got our hopes up. I mentioned this on Friday, Weldon. There are a couple games that I can point to where I say Arkansas should be the better team on the road, and you can take effort on the road with you. You can pack that in the suitcase. You can take that effort, and when you've got 12 guys who can run, who can go, you're going to have a chance. And if the shots go in, if they can make shots outside Bud Walton Arena, I see them being able to win 4 or 5 road games this year, which I think would go a long way to them making the tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, my hopes aren't up in terms of, believing this basketball team can be anything extraordinary. I believe there's a certain level in which they can reach, and yes, that does include the NCAA tournament. But as I said on last week's show, Mark, I think when we look at Arkansas after the SEC tournament is over, however Arkansas finishes, Selection Sunday, we'll be able to look back and say, man, if they had won those 1 or 2 games here or there, they would have been in. Or, yay, they won that game here and that game there, and that's what got them in. I really think that's the margin it's going to be for Arkansas. It's going to be those 1 or 2 games, either in the positive or the negative side, that'll determine it. And so I think they'll be right there. I think my hopes are in check, and we'll see what happens.
They got UT San Antonio Saturday at 7 o'clock. They've their first conference game at Texas A&M. I think that's a winnable game on January the 8th. It'll be an 8 o'clock tip there at Texas A&M. That's a winnable game on the road, and you'll tell a lot about the team from that game right there as far as their tournament hopes and things like that. Brad, before we get you out of here, I don't know if you follow recruiting as much as I might, and there are a lot of folks who follow it much closer than I do, but Anton Beard, he may be the point guard that Mike Anderson's looking for. He was the Coke Classic MVP this year, 20 points in the finals of the Coke Classic there as North Little Rock University went on to win that tournament. What do you think about the Hogs in basketball recruiting? You can even mention football if you'd like.
Okay, well, football recruiting is looking rough right now. There's just, you're just recruiting off of 4-8 and 3-9 season, and you're recruiting against the heavyweights. I don't put a lot of stock in recruiting rankings because I think they're very, very political. Obviously, when a kid goes to Alabama, he's going to get the opportunity to be coached better and all of these things. So, yeah, he's going to turn out to be a pretty good player. My problem is these kids get stars after they're offered by such teams such as Alabama, LSU, and all that, instead of getting their stars and then getting offers. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of getting the cart before the horse a little bit. So I just don't put a lot of stock in them, but Arkansas definitely needs an upgrade in talent football-wise. And, I'm not sure if they've got it where they need to be. So I look at this this rebuild for Brett Bielema as something that is going to take a little bit more time than everybody's wanting, although the 2015 class is off to a great start. And a good season by the Hogs this next year, which when I say good season, I mean improvement. I think that they could ride the wave and really turn this into a good top 15 type class. Basketball-wise, I was going to throw this in there before you mentioned it, but look, Arkansas is going to be pretty good this year. They're going to have a good team. They're going to play outside of the first round of the SEC tournament first time since 2008. That's going to happen. Just mark it down. That's what's going to happen. Well, I say that, barring major injuries, that will happen. Now, when you throw in what Arkansas's got coming in next year and you subtract what Arkansas has they're losing this year, I think Arkansas is looking to be a pretty good basketball team next year, something that we should expect to be in the NCAA tournament. I think that we should be playing for a higher seed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, you add a guy that a lot of people have maligned a little bit with Anton Beard, kid that was committed to Missouri last year and really dropped Missouri just out of nowhere. Nobody really even saw that coming. Arkansas picks his commitment up. A lot of people said he can't play, and all he's done is probably be the best player on that North Little Rock team this year, which is saying a lot. The kid can play. He's going to be an upgraded point guard right off the bat. Then you throw in another wing scorer in Nick Babb, kid that comes in, 6'5" wing scorer that can put it in the basket. I like his game. And then you add another big in Trey Thompson. I don't know if I expect a whole lot out of him next year.
I don't.
But he is another guy that can add some depth. And with the improvement that we've had with the guys like Qualls and Bell and other guys, you know, if that upward arc continues, Arkansas is going to be pretty darn good in basketball next year. Best team that Arkansas has had in a long time. I would say going back to the mid-'90s. Now, I'm not saying they're going to the Final Four or anything like that, but I look for Arkansas next year to be a team that not only is expected to make the tournament, but expected to win some games. And that's a step. I mean, it's a huge step in this program. And, of course, I've always been a Mike Anderson guy. I've always been a Mike Anderson backer. I feel like that the way he's got things going right now, those people that have stood with him are looking pretty good right now. Now, SEC play is coming, and we'll see if that holds true. But I really look for Arkansas to finish good this year, but, man, next year, I look for Arkansas to be very, very good next year.
Yeah, Jason tweets in and says Keaton Miles should help next year too. So they're going to have some depth. They're losing 3 seniors, I think, is what the roster looks like, and I just hope Bobby Portis will stay. I think he will. Moses Kingsley too, man. He has been so good. So I've liked what I've seen from him. Well, as far relatively speaking, knowing that when he got here, I was worried whether or not he'd be able to catch a pass, let alone do anything. Just block shots and don't get in the way. And he's been a revelation offensively. So I've been happy with what I've seen from him. All right, Brad, that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you for calling, and don't be a stranger.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.
Brad Caldwell.
Yeah, Moses Kingsley. You know, I was saying maybe 3 years or so, maybe he could be like a Gorgie Jang at Louisville. You know where Jang was, but he's ahead of pace. Jang wasn't quite here when he got to Louisville. So
yeah, and Jang, man, he's an athletic specimen. I don't know that Moses is quite as athletic, but he's a shot blocking guy.
He's a problem though,
and he is a problem for folks. That's true, because he can get up there around the rim at 7 foot. You can't teach 7 foot tall. And he does a pretty good job of being 7 foot tall. So we'll be interested to see, like we've talked about for the last little bit there, about how the Razorbacks take the SEC slate on. You remember a couple years ago when they were, I think, 15-1, and then they go 2-14 in conference. So we're taking everything with a grain of salt. Jason just texted me a minute ago, and he said, he meant don't get your hopes up. He asked if we were getting our hopes up. He's saying don't get your hopes up. I agree. 4 or 5 wins in conference on the road, though, would be pretty good. Huge. There are some games I just don't think they're going to win. If
they win 5 road games, it's a wrap. They are in. They're in with the conversation of what seed they'll get. I think if they can win 5 road SEC games, that'd be huge.
That'd be a big deal. All right, tonight in the college football realm, we are out of time, so we've got to run out and let you know Middle Tennessee State Navy going on right now. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech tonight, and Oregon, Texas. That's the big one tonight in college football. Navy's got a 10-6 lead over Middle Tennessee State with 40 seconds left in the first half. So we hope you enjoy a college football night. If you're watching the NFL coaching carousel, if you're watching the NBA, whatever it is you're doing, enjoy yourself, and we will probably see you Wednesday. We'll have to look. It's New Year's Day, so we'll have to see if we'll be here. We'll let that be known on Facebook. But regardless, we will have plenty of stuff left to talk about on the Sports Blitz this week. So we thank you for joining us today. Thank Coach Davis and Brad for calling in. Thank Jason for texting in. But for Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday with more Sports Blitz.